Welcome back to the Season 3 World Championship live from Los Angeles, California. Just a few minutes away from our second game of the day as SKT T1 take on the Lemondogs. But first, I'd like to welcome ONG's top laner, Gogo, into the interview lounge. First of all, Gogo, and thanks a lot for joining us here. You guys dominated LPL all season long. You won spring, you won summer, but fell at the very last hurdle, losing out in the end to Royal Club. Talk to us about your feelings after that game. Was it a surprise?
当时的话，皇族的他整体状态和那个战术都是很好的。那几场比赛他们的应该是整体状态比我们好吧，然后他们的战术打法也创新吧，很有创新精神，然后输得很值吧。
So for those games, Royal played in a very good condition, and their performance is so powerful, and they have like a lot of strategies, which is much better, and they are very creative in developing new strategies playing the games. That's why they think they did very well in that time.
So let's talk about life after that qualifier. It only ended on Sunday actually, and you guys have flown here since then. You've had time to practice. What's your practice regime been like? Because you've not had much time to prepare for the Worlds here. Microphone?
Oh, sorry. 就是我们之前就是一直训练得很辛苦，然后到现在呢，没有很多的时间来准备，只有1个星期。你是怎么看待这样的呢？
首先来这里就是为了证明自己拿一个好的名次吧，所以不管再怎么样也得保证好自己的状态吧。
Because for coming here, they really want the championship, so they are trying their best to do well in the game. So they are trying to adjust as much as possible.
So in the short time that you've had, obviously flying in from China, where has your focus been in terms of your opponents? Because you've got the likes of SKT in your group, but you've also got the likes of Gaming here and TSM, so many different play styles and teams. Where has your focus been in terms of practice?
你们在练习的时候的那个重点是哪个队伍？
我们会学习其他的队伍，就是借鉴其他队伍的战术，但是我们主要还是针对我们自己来训练吧。其实我们可能就是以我们自己为一个针对点来不断的加强自己吧。
They actually have studied and researched for a lot of different teams, but the most important thing for them is that to focus on their own team. That's the more important.
So you have a chance now because there are a lot of people back home supporting you guys, both yourselves and Royal Club. You have a moment now to thank your fans and give any shout outs to all those millions of people back home watching.
他说，有很多的人来支持你们，然后包括皇族，然后你有什么要对他们说的吗？
皇族，我们的兄弟战队一起加油吧。We
want to fight together with the Royal Club. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys, and good luck in your games both today and in the future as well. So, guys, we're going to get into our second game and send it over to Jat and Demon at the desk.
Thank you very much, Joe. And it is indeed time for our second match of the group stage. Korea's SK Telecom T1 versus Europe's Lemondogs. And for the Lemondogs, they have to be feeling a little bit sour after European regionals.
Yeah, I mean, they came into the regional finals against Fnatic as the #1 seed in Europe, having won 16 out of their last 20 games. But even though the game didn't technically mean they'd get a bye, it could still be important for them. They fell to XPEK and Fnatic 3-1, and then they ended up as the 2nd seed here at Worlds.
Yeah, but even though they took the 2nd at the European regionals, the Lemondogs have to be happy about making it to the World Champions after just one LCS split. They qualified in the summer.
Yeah, and to be fair, they were the most consistent team in the European LCS all season long. They were actually the only consistent team in the European LCS in the summer split as well. It's because they just, they play smart, they play safe, they don't rush into fights, and they generally just don't fall behind early on in the games. They were actually the only team other than Alternate to hold first place in the European LCS all season, but yet they were underdogs in the eyes of the fans almost every single game, Demon.
Yeah, they had the fan vote against them. I think it was like 26 times or something by the time we were at Gamescom. The Lemondogs, well, they still won most of those games. They finished their first split in the LCS with a record of 18-10, thanks in part to their two big weapons, Nukeduck and Tabzz.
Yeah, let's talk about him a little bit, because Tabzz is a former mid laner, and then he turned AD carry effectively for this team. And then he led all of the European AD carries with 137 kills, which was third in the actual European LCS overall. He's also the one who kind of invented the Bloodthirster Last Whisper Caitlyn build over in Europe. But then there's also their consistent mid laner, Nukeduck. He's just solid all around. He's got an extremely deep champion pool, which is required in the European LCS. And he also just split pushes a lot for Lemondogs, which is required in the current game state right now.
And today, Nukeduck and the Lemondogs will be looking to blast past Korea's SKT and their mid laner, Faker.
Yeah, we got to introduce you guys to Faker if you haven't seen him already. His playstyle and SKT's playstyle is just built around mid lane. You know, it makes sense because he might be just the best mid laner in the world. He consistently wins matchups, actually, that he shouldn't sometimes. Like, he'd go Chalice of Harmony on Orianna and beat a Zed straight up. And it's generally, he's the carry if they win in the games. He actually won the MVP of the summer season when SKT won the summer season of OGN.
Yeah, absolutely. So Faker not only won the MVP and Korea's Summer Championships, he also helped SKT win a place at the Worlds by finishing on the top of the regionals, Korean regionals.
Yeah, they had to do a lot actually to get here just because they were slow starters in the point system they had over there. But you know, they're one of the favorites not only to advance out of the group stage, but also to win Worlds, as our analyst desk pointed out earlier, which makes sense since Korea is looked at as the strongest region coming into the tournament. And SKT just won the latest Korean season, beating the other Korean team in the group stage, Ozone, in the process.
Well, coming off that summer season victory, SKT definitely is looking like one of the best teams of the tournament today. Faker and crew are hoping, though, to build on that momentum and make a home atop the world leaderboards.
합숙한 게 그 팀 게임에 도움이 된다고 생각해요. 처음에 여기에 합숙을 했을 때는 이렇게 좀 불편했었는데 점점 하면 할수록 여기가 이제 집도 잘 못 가고 그러니까 여기가 좀 더 집 같아서 여기가 엄청 편할 때도 있어요. 저는 처음 합숙해서 이게 좀 걱정이 됐는데 그래도 이게 그냥 좋더라고, 같이 있으니까 팀원들이. 그 이유를 분명해야지. 빨리 친해지는 기분이라서.
처음 만났던 사람들이랑 친해지고 이걸 프로게이머로 하니까 그냥 사람들 많이 만나서 좋은 것 같고.
저희 게이밍 하우스가 좀 많이 생활하다 보니까 집 같아요. 여러분 사는 집이랑 거의 똑같은 것 같고.
영화 보러 딱 한 번 간 적 있어요. 1년 동안. 1년 아니고 반년 동안 딱 한 번 영화 같이 보러 간 적 있고.
저희 팀 그 리더가 우리 푸만두 형인데 그 형이 사실 저희 팀의 권력자거든요.
저는 서포터니까 팀의 어머니 같은 역할을 하고 있어요.
전혀 아니에요.
저희를 좀 조종하는 그런 형이에요.
그래서 잘해주시게 하는데 욕을 해요. 왠지 몰라서.
저는 욕 한 번도 안 해요. 네? 욕 안 해요, 저.
욕을 안 한다는 건 거짓말이고 욕을 하긴 해요.
멘탈이 제 팀에서 제일 안 좋아요.
멘탈도 이게 쉽게 박살 나긴 하지만 이렇게 빨리빨리 좀 돌아와요. 그래도
박살 안 난 적을 본 적이 없어요.
그래도 빨리빨리 돌아오잖아.
랭킹 1등 찍어가지고 섭외됐어요.
평범한 학생이었는데 공부하면서 게임하다가 그 한국 서버 오픈되고 나서 롤을 좀 많이 했거든요. 좀 많이 하니까 랭킹이 올라서 섭외가 들어오잖아요. 그래서 제가 제일 먼저 저희 SK텔레콤에서 그 확정된 멤버인데, 그래서 그때부터 프로 생활을 했던 것 같아요. 스트레스 풀라고 얼마 전에 화분을 샀는데 2개 정도 샀는데 효과가 있는 것 같아요.
가장 뽑고 싶은 팀은 저는 OMG, 스나틱, 갬빗 게이밍.
북미의 C9 팀이 되게 잘한다고 들어서 그 팀이랑도 만나고 싶고.
일단 해외여행이 처음이라서. 여행가? 여행이지 그래도. 여행가? 경찰 자료? 일단 롤드컵 경기하러 간 거긴 한데 제가 비행기를 처음 타는 거예요, 이게. 그래서 정말 가고 싶고 LA라는 곳이 어떤 곳인지 제 눈으로 보고 싶어요.
제가 외국에 나가는 게 처음이라 여러 가지로 되게 보고 싶은 게 많을 것 같은데 가서 좀 사진도 많이 찍고 그럴 것 같아요.
한번 해외로 한번 나가보고 싶어요.
이거 햄버거가 다른지 미국 음식이나 디즈니랜드 거기 한번 가보고 싶어요.
그냥 외국에 가서 좋을 것 같아요.
진짜네.
Well, let's see if they can keep it together. So let's check out those starting lineups. For the blue health bars, it is going to be SKT T1. In the top lane, it's going to be Impact. In the jungle is Bengi. The mid lane superstar is going to be Faker. And the AD carry Piglet alongside him will be Mandu as the support.
And of course, in the red, it is Lemondogs. Top lane is Zorozero. Dexter in the jungle, Nukeduck having to go up against Faker in the mid lane, Tabzz on AD carry, and of course Mithy joined the mid-season, went on a huge run on support.
Absolutely, and something we should talk about these teams actually, along with the travel, is more the mid laners. So many mid laners that I've talked to have said, I'm excited to go up against Faker.
They kind of have to see what it's like, because everyone just hears about what Faker does, you know, the things that he's able to do. Winning the matchups with Orianna against Zed, like you can watch it for one, but to actually experience it is something these guys have to see. They need to see if it's all hype or if it actually is something crazy. They need to figure out what it is so they can try to level up their own game, because everyone says that Faker is just ahead of the game.
Well, I think everybody saw Ryu's face when he got completely outplayed by Faker. He's just like, but what happened then? I don't know what happened. And these are the things that could happen. SKT T1, you can see there on your screen, just getting ready for this one. Lemondogs themselves also traveling across. And we should talk about the travel because for both of these teams, this is the first time they've come across the ocean to these big tournaments. Obviously, for Lemondogs, they played in, Tenerife, Moscow, DreamHack, but this is much bigger. And of course, you could talk about the fact that SKT T1, they just played at the massive finals in OGN. So
yeah,
they both had played in front of big crowds, but that travel can affect teams. We've seen it so many times. Big teams that come abroad and just don't perform.
And also the expectations and realities for these teams is going to be a little different, because Lemondogs playing in a lot of those different places, even before Gamescom, they were saying, wow, we qualified for Worlds, or, you know, we're the #1 seed. This was an extremely successful season for us, you know? And they're just kind of saying, let's see how far we can take it. Prediction-wise, yes, there's a lot of European hopefuls that think Lemondogs could do crazy things, but if they don't make it, they're a new team, right? They have plenty more to do. What is strange, because SK Telecom T1, they're also a pretty new team. They did not do well in Champions Winter. I don't even know if they were a team then.
It was the spring.
Yeah, but then spring they finished like 8th, and summer they won.
Yeah.
But that's a short span of time. They've been together as this team for half a year, right? But yet they're expected to be this amazing powerhouse. They've never been on a plane before. They've never been outside of Korea. Yes, they're amazing at League of Legends, and they've dominated the Korean League of Legends scene, but we don't know what these outside factors are going to be for them. The pressure that comes from these guys, #3 seed in Korea, but expected to win, coming from the group stage, traveling all the way to America for the first time. Everyone expect, like, if they make one mistake, how are they going to affect with that? We saw Mandu talking about how he, you know, takes losses really hard, but then he bounces back really quickly. What's going to happen if they drop a game in the group stage? How are they would adapt?
And I'm interested to see how those plants that they look after would handle and
Did
survive
they bring them
in the
over?
TSM house, because I don't think they'd last so long myself. But they seem to work out very well for them. Lemondogs there on your screen. There is Mithy. He is the man on the right-hand side, or pretty much the foremost full screen. He's kind of the mouthpiece of the team, and he's really been quite vocal throughout the season of what he thinks is good, strong.
Yeah.
And he is going to be the one that's been researching these. I can remember we had that second place playoff. Lemondogs were top. That was it. They'd finished. Everybody else went home. He stayed in the player lounge, the only person. Everybody else had gone. He was on his own. He stayed and watched all 6 games and just absolutely watch him. He's just such a big fan of League of Legends and just scouted those teams.
And even though Mithy likes to say that it's, you know, a team effort and he's not the one that makes all the calls, there was a drastic improvement in Lemondogs when they picked him up as support. Near the end of the regular season, they went 14-4 after picking him up and secured the #1 seed going into the European playoffs. He is a difference maker on support. And we've seen, you know, PoohManDu, team captain of SK Telecom. Last year's Season 2 World Championships, TPA, Mistake was the one who just made all the shot calls. A lot of times having the support in those roles is extremely beneficial for them, and it's what we've seen from some of the world's most successful teams.
And if you wonder why we're waiting, we're just waiting for the teams to get themselves prepared. Of course, this is the first time they are setting up on the main stage in our beautiful studios here in Culver, and it's just fantastic at Los Angeles studios. I was impressed by this, I gotta be honest. I walked in, I wasn't sure what to expect, because I was on studio group stage. Oh, okay, we'll see what this is like. Walked in, I was like, damn, you guys have done a good job, and all within about a week's build. It was a fast build. These guys, this crew has worked incredibly hard to get us to this stage, and these teams are sat ready waiting to go. You can see using the old white Microsoft mouse there, I can add as well, by the way.
Well, he's got to be comfortable.
I've always been interested by the peripherals. Of course, we can talk about Kerb. He's not here, sadly, but he used to use a trackball in the top lane. That's probably why he's not here.
You know, it's all about just transitioning exactly. Oh, come on. You can do well with the trackball. He's top of the solo queue ladder. What have you done with that? But really, no. These players have to be able to just whatever's the most comfortable for them, right? Being comfortable with your gear is something that a lot of these players don't get to. Obviously, like think of it this way. For SK Telecom T1, everyone expects them to win, obviously. We've been over that. But I'm just talking about the things that they need to be able to account for. They've played at the OGN studios, right? And they're always playing in those isolated booths. Sure, they have the soundproof headsets on right now, but at least setting up in what is a different environment. Maybe the desk is a different height. Maybe the chairs feel different for them. Any of these little things can make them extremely uncomfortable. And they have to take all that into account and then still make those amazing plays, which is kind of the most impressive thing to me about these professional players is think about how difficult it is if you went to like a friend's house and played League of Legends. You would play awful your first game. These guys, while they've been able to warm up and have their settings, they have to be ready to play on these gaming machines, right? And just perform world class.
Yeah, I mean, they're fantastic gaming machines, but at the end of the day, it's a different machine. Everybody knows, like you say, if you go and play it elsewhere, you just generally do very badly. And then you blame, of course, all the equipment. Because what else are you going to blame? It's not me that's possibly gone bad. Looking at these group stages, we've seen Group A. Obviously, we've already just seen Team Solar Mid taking that first game against Gaming Gear. They're going to be looking at these two teams here, as well as OMG, of course, who are going to be playing Team Solar Mid after this match happens. There's 10 games today. We've only got one out of the way. We've got another 9 to go, guys. So this is going to be a long day for everyone involved. It's going to be a fantastic day of League of Legends as well.
Yeah.
But what are we thinking between these? TSM just put up a fantastic performance to these. They're going to be looking at these two teams, looking for weaknesses. Where are those weaknesses right now?
Yeah, well, right now, Gaming Gear did not have a good showing against Team Solomid, and I think Team Solomid's weaknesses are still somewhat exploitable, right? You need to be able to shut down Reginald, get Corki away from Wild Turtle, and then kind of try round 2. There are going to be plenty more games for that. As far as these two teams go, SKT definitely shows the least amount of weaknesses of all these teams. Thinking about the way they play the game right now, it's very mid-lane focused, and their jungler, Bengi, is extremely counter-jungle heavy, and almost just pressure-oriented rather than someone who camps a lane or farms a lot. He has low farm, high ward control, and a huge amount of just overall presence of the game. It's one of the reasons Faker can succeed so well. But on the rest of the team, we heard Doublelift talking about Piglet being one of the most underrated AD carries in the world. His Vayne play, and Doublelift is someone who also knows a fair bit about Vayne, is extremely impressive, right? Him and Mandu do exceptional things in the bottom lane. Nami and Zyra also two of the big picks for Mandu, which might throw some people for a bit of a loop. So much of the support play in Season 3 has been about Thresh and Sona, so the fact that Mandu, even though we see Nami and Zyra frequently, does bring a slightly different edge to that equation.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued to see how Nukeduck, I'd say steps it up, or how he plays against them, because actually they've got a fairly similar champion pool, Faker and Nukeduck in the mid lane. Nukeduck, you know, he came into the season as effectively one of those superstars. And we talked about how good the three European the European mid laners were, and he's up against probably one of the champions, one of the players that everybody respects. I mean, I've seen Bjergsen making quotes saying that this guy's winning a lane he shouldn't win, which is where some of those lanes comes from. A lot of the mid laners have done just that, and they've talked about, you know, how the hell is he winning this? So Nukeduck surely will have come into this knowing that SKT T1 would be his first match, put a heck of a lot of research on, say, those OGN summer games, Champions games that they've just...
And there's a lot of film on Faker.
There's a lot of film on both of these players. Yeah, but Faker especially.
So many recent games. Specifically, SK Telecom, they played the best of 5 against KT Roasterby, all 5 games. And then they played 4 more games within a week of themselves. And those are the most recent, extremely high-pressure games for Faker. So they're going to be able to look at what each other do. And I'm interested actually to see what outside influences happen to these games. We know that Zorozero loves to do the push up the top lane and just roam, explore, and try to make action happen in that mid lane. One of the underestimated or underappreciated things about dominant mid laners is how much the rest of the team is able to help him. I know in one of the last games of SKT against KT Rolster B, Ryu tried to play Syndra against Faker. But it was actually their top laner Impact who came down with the Elise at level 3, cocooned him and towered over him. And that gave Faker the edge in that lane, and then he just kind of took off and destroyed the game as Faker would tend to do sometimes. These are the things that either Lemondogs or SKT are going to be planning to do against each other to really give their mid laner an edge. We know how important the mid laners are in League of Legends right now, but especially so with Faker.
So let's talk about what effects 3.11 may have had on these two teams, because obviously both coming into this one, I wouldn't say cold, because 3.11's been out. They've all had the equal amount of time to practice on it.
Yep.
But it has changed some champions. Who will be affected from both of these two teams the most?
Absolutely. So Zach had pretty substantial nerfs that's going to be hurting him a fair bit in these upcoming games.
An impact on the
and
top
I think
lane.
like the pure tank top laners are definitely taking a little bit of a hit, which means the top laners that are more aggressive or do higher damage are actually a little bit in. It's even more of a high damage assassin-based game right now for these guys. Impact and Zorozero aren't actually that affected by this. I'd say Lemondogs and SK Telecom aren't the teams that are heavily affected by that. Yes, the Trinity Force is going to have a large impact on the bottom lane. If anything, I would say that actually helps SK Telecom a little bit more, but both of the AD carries, like, it's a Caitlyn Varus for Lemondogs, and it's a Vayne Caitlyn for SK Telecom. Those aren't necessarily Trinity Force users. So if they've adapted it, we'll see how it goes, but it's not giving them this huge edge.
It's going to be changing things around. We'll see how it works out for them. Of course, we are just waiting for them to get around. You've seen Faker already. He's got people around him. I wonder how much that's going to affect him, because obviously, you know, coming into this major tournament, he's clearly got an issue where he's just not happy with some sort of setting, which has just been tweaked and sorted out right now.
Have to find out what's going on there.
I have to find out what is going on there. But as it is, we are just waiting for things to get underway. If you have just joined us, well, welcome. If you've been with us all the time, thanks for listening, guys, because we are just obviously talking while the teams do sort themselves out. You've had Team Solar Mid already, though, sorting themselves out. They picked up the first win. It's a big win for them.
Yeah, that TSM win is so important for them. But really, when these next two games get played in the group stage, we're going to get to our first look at all 5 teams in Group A, and then we'll really start talking about that.
Okay, so while we wait for the players to hop into the game lobby, let's send it over to the Quick Shot and the guys at the analysis desk to see their opinions.
Thank you very much, D-Man. The Quick Shot here with the Freak and the rest of the analysts on the desk. We're going to talk a little bit now while we wait for SKT and Lemondogs to actually just sort out some of those technical issues. And I want to pick up from where D-Man and Jat left off, talking about 3.11. They've already highlighted, you know, the Trinity Force changes. And as an AD carry and a support, our analyst bottom lane, talk me through Wild Turtles, Corki, and how much more Trinity Force champions we're going to be seeing this tournament.
Yeah, so definitely I think Corki's going to be early picked, early banned every game. He's really, really strong right now. He was always strong, actually. I think Cop was like the first North American player to pick him up before the Trinity Force buffs. And people realized, like, wow, Corki is actually really strong. And now he's just so top tier bottom lane. He has almost no losing matchups except for like a few like Graves. And my problem with it is that people are going to go into Ezreal a lot with Trinity Force, which I personally don't like. I personally like blue build Ezreal, but you know, that's another thing.
As a support player, agree or disagree, Cripper?
I played quite a few games against Corkis in the European solo queue, and it's really, even once they get that phage, it throws you off your game once they get that continuously speed ups after every spell. And it's really, really hard to play against that. You have to get used to it, and it just has a really early ramp-up time, and especially Korean teams will be able to abuse that.
Yeah, I think actually the Trinity Force top laners actually have a really big impact as well, because you're seeing Jackson, Aurelia, and these types show back up into the scene. A top lane that was, for the most part, dominated by guys like Shen and Zach and Nasus and Elise, who are either tanks or casters.
Yeah, and you know, with going along with this too, we've seen that transition. Now, the Korean qualifiers for this third place seed that SK Telecom played in, they started to adapt that style because they were on 310A at the time. And so we started seeing Impact play some more Jacks and other carry top laners already starting to move away from that meta and pick up the new Trinity Force, or new, I should say, old Trinity Force bruiser tops.
It's back.
And to go off of that, like, as an AD carry player, the champions that top lane play that use Trinity Force, like Aurelia and Jax, those are champions that are really good against like Caitlyn and Varus. And so you're going to see like it snowball more where Corki and Ezreal are actually really good against other Trinity Force users. So the AD carries that use Trinity Force are good against Trinity Force top laners. So it just kind of builds upon itself a lot.
So let's step back a little bit. We've discussed the top and the duo lane. How does this affect the jungle or the mid lane at all? You know, we've seen this heavy assassin sort of meta game in play right now. Do the changes in 3.10, 3.11 affect the mid or your jungle at all?
I think it will affect the jungle in one way, that certain champions who were really early picks in both viable positions, some teams were still picking jungle Shen early for the possibility to have that, or Zac really early and then just swap him out and put him in the jungle. I think pick patterns are definitely going to change with these item rotations, and then I can see a lot more emphasis just getting Zed early. Every team's going to want Zed this patch.
What makes Zed still so good that over all the current patches he's still relevant?
He seems to bring out the best in, like, the players can do so much with Zed. We've seen Faker 30% HP, come at me with another Zed, well, no problem. I'll just QSS your ulti, jump away, jump back in, jump away again. It's such a versatile champion with which you can do so much, especially in an assassin-based mid lane meta game. I feel Zed's going to have so much impact. One
thing I'm actually surprised about with the sort of proliferation of Zed is that we're not seeing as many champions who are specifically good against Zed. Guys like, for example, Lissandra, who can basically self-ult and at least have some impact in the fight, right? Like, she can put the Frozen Tomb out, do a bunch of stuff, or just target stun the Zed, and then your team can kind of group up on that. Fiddlesticks, 3-second fear. Unless Zed rushes the QSS, he's going to have a really hard time doing anything in a fight. I'm surprised people aren't killing Zed quickly in fights more.
Well, and to run with that, too, there have been a lot of theories about, are we going to see Kayle in this tournament because of the power of Zed? But I think mostly we're just going to see Zed bans, frankly.
Well, I want to step back now, because if there was ever a time to pull out a new champion, a new composition, pull out something that's maybe a little off the wall from the current meta, now's the time to do it, right? Talking about Kayle, Kayle's can do very well against the likes of your Zed. What other kinds of champions could we be seeing very, very quickly, Crep? I throw that out there.
I'm waiting for Soraka. Armor buff, silence, flash bananas. I'm hoping.
We'll have to see if it works out. I am hearing that apparently the players are just about ready. So let's actually throw it back over to Demon and Jet for Champion Select.
Thank you very much, guys. So the players are into the lobby and ready to start Champion Select. So let's get it on, as it were. Hopefully.
Let's get to it.
Hopefully we will get to it. That's what we're hoping, because we're back on the screen, so which means the Champ Select is about to come in any moment. So what do we think? They've just talked about the fact that the Zed ban will come through, almost certain.
I think the assassin picks in the mid lane are extremely important. Ahri, Fizz, Zed are probably the three biggest priorities here in the mid lane. Junglers, obviously Jarvan is extremely played by Dexter as well as Bengi. And then AD carry-wise, we're really going to get to see whether Corki is the thing to do this tournament for these two teams or not.
Well, research has happened, it seems, and Fizz and Kennen being taken away from Nukeduck and Zorozero, both champions they played heavily throughout Gamescom and the end of the summer split. Orianna being taken away from Faker, no problem there. Caitlyn also being banned out. Not going to let Piglet have that one.
Yeah, so those are interesting bans so far by Lemondogs, because Faker, although he played a lot of Orianna, I still feel like he's most deadly on the Assassin champions. So they're just kind of generally banning out SKT's larger team fight compositions and almost maybe daring them to go more of a split style. I'm not sure.
Not Shen being taken away. That kind of surprised me. Zorozero not prolifically on Shen, but Zed. There is the final ban. No problem there. And Ahri instantly picked for Faker.
Of course. I'm very surprised Ahri made it through these picks and bans. I was expecting Fizz, Zed, and Ahri, kind of the trinity of the mid lane assassin powerhouses right now, to just either be taken away or at least trade them back and forth. Because now Lemondogs, what are they going to play against Ahri? What does Nukeduck necessarily have left? He used to draw a lot of Fizz bans for himself, which he already has, but his Ahri is strong as well. Lemondogs of all teams got destroyed by XPeke's Ahri during the 5-game set of the European playoffs. Very, very interesting that Ahri gets through.
Well, has Tabzz adjusted to 3.11? It seems he has. Boom. And he's locked in Corki alongside Thresh as well.
Well, here's the thing. Former mid laner, Corki is actually kind of a pretty good AD carry mid lane, but he's obviously going to play him bottom lane. It will fit Tabzz fairly well with that Bloodthirster Last Whisper build that Tabzz popularized over in the European scene. That style of sitting in the back and basically just spamming your spells, using them well, obviously, fits him, and I think the Corki will as well.
Yeah, not just spamming them out there. Bengi looking like he may well select Lee Sin here. Always excited to see a Korean player on Lee Sin, especially a prolific jungler. Ooh, Elise could get selected. No, switching back to that Zyra. Going between them. Which one are they going to go? Which one are they going to go? No reason to select that support right now because it's already been locked in the other side. And it will be Elise, potential top laner.
Yeah, it looks like a top laner right there with the Lee Sin being picked in. Bengi can go jungle Lee Sin, and then they can just do top lane Elise, the higher damage, more threatening top laners as opposed to just the straight up tanks. That obviously leaves Twisted Fate open for Nukeduck, and it leaves the Vi open in the jungle. So even though Dexter hasn't played a whole bunch of Vi, we know everyone's been practicing it. Whoa, indeed.
Swain getting locked in for Nukeduck. What has he pulled out here? Has he pulled himself a sneaky champion over Ahri in the mid?
Swain against Ahri in the mid lane here. If he can get powered up a little bit, Swain is a bit of a drain tank against Assassins if you're not able to put him down. We saw a little bit of Swain at the International Wildcard Tournament of all things. That is extremely dangerous pick though.
Well, what the crowd are happy about is Vayne being locked in for Piglet. And there is, of course, going to be Zyra alongside him. So those are the champion choices for SKT T1. What will the final pick be for? And of course, well, what else is Zorozero going to play? He's going to play what he began the summer split with. It is going to be Malphite in the top lane.
Wow. So we have the Unstoppable Force plus Vi combo right here, which means they pick one person and they get rid of that person. And that's probably going to be Piglet is what they're going to try to do this for. My prediction here would be in team fights, Lemondogs wants to power down Piglet and then hope Nukeduck can live through assassination attempts from Faker. Faker lives for just eating supports alive on Ahri, which means if they're not putting enough immediate focus on Nukeduck, and if Lemondogs could take down Piglet, Nukeduck could then have strong things in teamfights as Swain. But seriously, D-Man, Swain in the first game against the World Championships, that is something new here.
And I don't recall seeing Swain at all in the summer LCS. I don't think anyone played him.
I don't
Certainly
think so,
not in Europe.
No, and I mean, I look at SK Telecom's team comp, they pretty much got what they wanted.
Yeah.
Lemondogs didn't take anything away from them. They're planning to beat their strategy.
Well, we'll see how that works out for them because this could well be an interesting one. So those are the teams selected out there. Well, Zorozero on Malphite along that top. No surprise there. What are we expecting from these two teams?
These two teams, I'm expecting what has to be an aggressive game from Lemondogs. Even though they're a team that generally waits for other teams to make moves. If you're going to be going into a game with Vi Malphite, you're going to have to go aggressive.
Well, while the players are spawning into the Rift, let's check out who you guys at home think is going to win this one. According to LottEsports.com, well, you guys have been voting. 68% of you think the SKT will come out on top of this one.
Yeah, and all the analysts chose SKT1 as well. Not as high as the Team Solo Midverse Gaming Gear thing, but no one's going to argue with you if you say SKT is the strongest team coming into this group. 68% actually might even be a little low as far as the chances go.
Well, it's only approaching 11 p.m. in mainland Europe, so these guys have been up still voting for the Lemondogs. They've been trying, despite the fact they've not voted for them all season long. So Lemondogs, well, they've been the underdogs every single time they play generally in the European LCS, and they've generally turned them into wins. We'll see how that works out. We do have a pause in the game at the start, which is why we haven't launched straight into that. We are ready and waiting to go, though, Jap.
We will be, and I can't wait to see the way these picks and bans interact with each other. Just specifically, how much focus gets placed on the mid lane early. Because Swain, if he gets a couple kills, can just turn into an absolute monster. And we know what Faker can do on Ahri because he rushes that Deathfire Grasp and is so perfect with the way he uses his spells to assassinate generally supports that it's basically over from there. So I'm expecting Impact's Elise to come down in the mid lane frequently to help out that matchup. And honestly, Dexter might just be camping that mid lane with Vi. It's really, so much of this is about the Swain versus Ahri matchup between Nukeduck and Faker.
But how much of a gamble is that? The
Huge gamble.
Taken
huge gamble.
A huge gamble.
Yeah.
Swain versus Faker's Ahri. That is enormous. And you talked about Dexter. That is something Dexter will do. He will be camping that mid lane. We're going to see Zorozero. He's going to be left on an island generally in that top lane on Malphite. It's what he did throughout the start of the season. He was effectively, ironically, when I was on the bus towards DreamHack, the very first week of the summer LCS, they were laughing and joking, basically saying Zorozero is the only champion you can actually play.
Zorozero is the only champion you can play?
No, Zorozero Malphite is the only champion he can play.
Yeah, I mean, he's going back to it in the time of needing comfort. We talked about all the different pressures for these guys. They've now traveled across the world. It's their first game of the World Championships. And guess what? They had a delay before the game as well, just to amp things up a little bit. And then they get through picks and bans, and then there's a pause. It's a good thing that he's on a comfortable champion. I don't know if I can say the same for Nukeduck Swain, though.
No.
That's the risk.
That is a big risk. Let's talk about that bottom lane though, because we saw Piglet getting Vayne locked in there, as well as against the Corki. So how do we see this one balancing out? Are they going to be switching to go for that 2v1? Because it's going to be Elise, of course, for the top lane for Impact.
I think a 2v1 swap is a definite choice for these guys, and it will really depend on what type of confidence SKT has in their laning ability. I think Corki, especially with Phosphorus Bomb early, can just out-trade Piglet, specifically because Piglet also went Cleanse. That's not like a combat fighting summoner early on against a Corki. It's not going to help you trade, especially when your health gets low. If we see a lane swap, SKT would be the ones that want to initiate it, because right now Lemondogs should have confidence in their straight-up lane matchups.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is Game 2 of the Season 3 World Championships here live in Los Angeles in front of this packed house. SKT T1 are going to be playing as the blue team, and Lemondogs from Europe are going to be representing themselves on the red team. So, big choices, big team decisions, big picks and bans. Swain versus Ahri in their mid lane. We've talked about it so much. They're going to see whether we get any level 1 action happening here. As of yet, we didn't see anything in Game 1. There wasn't no this early ward placements. And again, it seems that it's going to be very nervous play from these two teams. Lemondogs, though, they seem to be the ones setting up for something.
Early warding has really calmed down early on at the World Championships here. Normally, the plan is that teams just 5-man invade each other's red buff area, place 2 to 3 wards, and get out of there. But here, Lemondogs has already placed 2 wards in their own red jungle, so at least they have better knowledge of what SKT does and where they get their wards.
Yeah, 5-man invade, walk straight past that ward. SKT will know exactly where they are, which is why you see Bengi and PoohManDu going here. But Lemondogs, well, they've spotted themselves because they've passed straight over them wards, and every single member of that team is backing off.
And that's a little bit smart because they predicted that SKT would have an entrance ward into their own jungle, and Lemondogs walked through it, but then didn't let SKT know that they've walked back. So now SK Telecom has to be a little bit cautious of wherever they look in their red jungle.
And they've got that ward. There is actually 2 wards there, by the way.
Oh, what is this?
You just could see they were double stacked. Lemondogs want to fight for this red buff, it seems.
And SKT has stayed around a little bit longer. They are on the wards of Lemondogs, and they might try something sneaky over the wall here. They're going to wait for SKT to get on the red buff and try to set a trap.
Oh, look at them all. They're all ready to go. Mithy comes around the side there. He's going to throw out the hook. They're getting towards PoohManDu. He has to flash away. Bengi taken low. He's forced to flash away as well. And Lemondogs successfully defend the red buff. They didn't get a kill, though.
No kills. Nukeduck's never move on Swain gave him nothing. They burned a lot for that, but they could teleport to the bot lane, so they still get all their lanes in place. The big thing to track, though, is the summoner spells burn. Lemondogs' bottom lane has no flashes and no ignite, whereas SKT still has a flash and cleanse on Piglet. That'll be fairly impactful.
So we'll see how that develops. Aggressive stuff already, and it does seem that the lanes, they did try and trade, but Lemondogs have traded straight into it. PoohManDu and Piglet in this top lane, taken low already. PoohManDu already under pressure here. Piglet's trying to return that pressure, but look at Mithy, trying to keep them lashes going. He's taken low himself here. PoohManDu keeping pressure on him. Very aggressive stuff early on here.
They are ready to fight in this lane, and it is a slight edge to Lemondogs as far as the 2v2 matchup goes, but PoohManDu is confident. He's the captain of that team, and Zyra's early on laning is still extremely strong. It's really on Zyra to carry Piglet out of this laning phase because Lemondogs wants to be as aggressive as possible.
Seems to be working that way, keeping out tender hooks here. As Mithy just waiting to see if he can land that death sentence through any of those little gaps. This mid lane, what an interesting one that's going to be. Faker versus Nukeduck. And that is an Ahri versus Swain. We talked about it so heavily in the pre-show. We can see that Faker already with a big CS advantage.
Yeah, he's pushing the wave in early, which is the big reason he has the CS advantage, as well as Nukeduck was a little late to lane. But that's PoohManDu getting pulled in. Exhaust burned.
Exhaust burn. PoohManDu taken very low, but Tabzz replying, taking low himself. Pressure continuing to be kept on here. The bottom lane, though, we haven't talked about it. It's going to be Zorozero on Malphite up against an Elise for Impact.
And this is not a good matchup for Zorozero. Impact should be able to do what he wants to him early on. He's already shoved up to the turret, and that's what almost everyone on SKT is doing right now. They're generally shoving their lanes here, which can give Bengi an opportunity to make some counter jungle plays. But Dexter waiting in the wings for a gank.
He manages to land the slam on Piglet. Piglet goes down. First blood there. It was Dexter that managed to take it up. PoohManDu being the focus for so long, but Piglet gets targeted.
Lemondogs really making the moves here early on in the game. They're the ones that tried for the level 1 fight because they scouted and predicted where SKT was going to go at level 1. Then they recognized where Bengi would be in the game, and Dexter planned that top lane gank. It's a very bold choice by SK Telecom to 2v2 lane the cleanse vein against someone who is strong as laning as Tabzz Corki. Dexter trying to make as many ganks as possible happen now.
Faker realizing what was up here. He's not going to get caught out that one. He's not going to get slammed either by Dexter. Instead, the charm will land and turns the damage back around. He read that one like a book.
Yeah.
He kept well away from that CS, and instead, he's going to turn around and continue farming.
Flawless gank avoidance by Faker there. Honestly, like, I actually thought that never move was going to land on him, and I would have been fairly close to maybe using a flash away from that one. But Faker just casually walks out, lands a charm onto Dexter, and that's effectively forcing the back from Dexter in the jungle and giving Bengi an opportunity to get a bit of a foothold in the jungle.
So Zorozero has gone back. He's picked himself up a Negatron cloak for that bottom lane, playing into the lane against Impact. We'll see how that works out as the game progresses. Bengi now finally starting to make himself active in this game. Of course, he was effectively bullied out of the first 5 minutes of that match from that initial play by the Lemondogs. We'll see how he comes back into this match.
And it definitely looks like Dexter has a bit of love for this top lane right now. Tabzz and Mithy want to get going for here. Piglet has been a bit struggling in this lane. He's got the double Dorans. He's down Boots in the matchup against Tabzz, but they're very heavily pushed up. SK Team's going to have to pull back in this one.
And it's Faker once again having a pause, of course, the pressure on him. There's a bit of a mouse issue for him, so he's going to make sure. That's kind of important when you play a game of League of Legends.
Your main input device, I'd have to say. We should be able to get this one sorted really quickly here for these guys, but man, what a start.
And remember, these teams, you can see them sat there in silence, not allowed to talk about this match, not allowed to talk about it, analyze it, to see what's happened, which is actually probably quite hard. I'd find that tricky because I talk all the time.
And you have to be talking constantly throughout the game to get your strategy through. The main communication metrics for a lot of the most successful teams is everyone relays information to the jungler, and then he kind of makes decisions. Sometimes you have your overarching decisions coming from someone else and team fight calls coming. But yeah, everyone has to talk. So for instance, you know, need a ward here, just placed a ward there. You got to ping every time someone comes through. Constant flows of information, and then a pause comes and you're like, well, got to remember all that now.
Gotta sit in silence, yeah, gotta remember where it all is. So let's talk about the opening 5 minutes that we've had here. First blood, of course, went to Lemondogs here. It was simply Dexter coming out of that top lane, sneaking through there. Perhaps he caught Piglet by surprise.
Yeah, that was a very... I mean, I'm pretty hyped about this game. Yeah. So I want to say, man, that was a great gank coming in top lane. But honestly, he came in through the brushes right there. And since PoohManDu and Piglet had been pushed back for so long, they didn't have really time to set up any Zyra plants or forward wards. So the through the lane gank worked just perfectly for them right there. And it gave them the first blood. It did go to Vi, though. I think Lemondogs would have rather had that on Tabzz' Corki, but it'll work out.
So we're back in the game. As you can see, the hook straight on towards PoohManDu. He's going to get locked up. The damage coming out. Tabzz goes aggressive. They may even get on towards Piglet. Piglet's going to have to tumble away from this one. And that is the second kill now. And Tabzz picks it up.
Mithy just landing the death sentence and doing just that. This is a Lemondogs lane through and through. Only a 5 minion farm advantage for Tabzz, but the summoner spells are getting recycled for SKT as they keep having to run away from them. It's given Lemondogs, got to be giving them a lot of confidence.
Well, they haven't quite got the time for the blue buff. They are a little bit ahead on that one. It seems instead they want to get this man in the middle. Faker, he's actually quite far up his lane right now. Mithy has come in. If he can land that death sentence, it would be very well aimed. But Faker, once again, just strolling on away from that one.
And Faker is level 6 right now. He is as safe can be. He has not been pressured in the slightest. The bold Swain pick, thus far, not really doing much for them. Faker has been pushed up to Nukeduck's lane the whole time, is incredibly escapable, and will actually have many roam opportunities. It's not like Nukeduck can shove back at him right now with that Swain, so Faker will be the one who tries to pull SK Telecom back in this game.
Well, we can see that Faker's actually...
This could be a counter gank, though. It's in a ward, and Faker could pull the Vi ultimate back into a turret, and Bengi could pounce. Very dangerous if Dexter goes in here.
Dexter is going to go in. Oh, thought about pulling the trigger on Faker, realized it's not going to land it, so just backs off once again. That never moves still, being avoided. The fact that he went for those early boots as well is helping him out in that respect.
Yeah, that's what you do against Swain. Faker knows every matchup in this game, even if you don't see that much Swain. And when someone has a skill shot snare like that has a slow detonation, the boots, if you have quick reaction times, basically allow you, unless you get caught against a weird maneuver, it basically saves you from every single one.
So Bengi getting that blue buff. That's going to go across the Faker. He should move across to pick that up in a moment. Red buff was just picked up by Dexter as well. So both junglers keeping control of their own jungle so far in this game. No massive counter jungling coming out. Bengi effectively being removed from the first few moments of this game by that first counterplay that Lemondogs did. You can see that pink ward in that top. They really want to make sure nobody goes up there. Impact and Zorozero down that bottom. We haven't seen a great deal of them because, frankly, there's not a lot going to happen so far between them.
I gotta say, though, considering it's a teleport versus an ignite, it's a good lane, but Dexter, he's going to have to smite this away, otherwise Bengi's stealing.
He's going to have to go for it, and he does, so that's actually going to be taken away from Swain. That's quite important. The flash comes out, Nukeduck's going to get locked up, the charm comes in there, and now Faker is managed to get a soul battery. Faker goes down. Dexter can turn this on his head, but Bengi, now he's got the help. Impact comes in there on towards Zorozero, has got unstoppable force available. He does manage to use it. Zorozero is going to go on towards Impact. Impact will go down, but Bengi manages to counter it. Dexter going down as well. Bengi gets away from it. Both of them back away, and he's going to take the Wolves as well.
May as well get some counter jungling in after a 2-for-2 there, but honestly, they're just going blow for blow here in the jungle. Nukeduck comes out behind on that one, but honestly, so does Faker. Neither mid now has a blue buff, and it's all about Bengi coming away with the double buffs after that one and what he can do with it.
So we'll see how it works. Well, he's gone straight for the counter. He's taken away the Wolves. He's taken away the Wraiths. And he's really even go for the Golems. I'm not too sure. He may come up towards his top lane. Tabzz and Mithy have been putting a lot of pressure. Mithy gets condemned. He gets rooted down there. Piglet didn't follow it up, though. And Mithy, well, he's taken a lot of damage. We are going to see Bengi back off, though.
And Mithy has put so much in this game to just lane superiority thus far. So has PoohManDu. They don't have their sight stones or anything yet. Those supports are as squishy as possible. There have been immense ward battles going on in that top lane, which is why supports aren't able to buy anything right now.
So Impact returns to the bottom lane. Went for that haunting guys early on. Zorozero, he's gone back on himself. That Giant's Belt. Dexter pink warding up that Dragon. I don't believe that's a focus for either of these teams right now because they're focusing so heavily on the lane phase at the moment.
And a little bit of counter jungling as well, but that was all about getting Faker going because they wanted to deny Nukeduck of a blue, and they ended up kind of denying Faker of a blue buff as well. Nukeduck needs a lot of farm if he wants to be able to live through Faker. We know how quickly he died in that blue buff fight, and already Lemondogs trying to roam a little bit mid here. Zorozero did that disappear move, and now he's kind of trying to make a play, but he doesn't even have his unstoppable force up. They're doing a long form lane swap with a little bit of a roam mid. It's getting matched by SKT.
Deathfire Grasp is being built up by Faker. Meanwhile, we can see the looks like Rod of Age is going to come out for Nukeduck. Nukeduck actually falling behind in that farming. Remember, he was back into that lane quite early on, but already there's a gulf starting to happen in terms of CS between these two. Top lane switches, of course, we do see Tabzz and Mithy moving towards his bottom. Dexter once again moving into position to try and get that gang.
Well, he has yet to be spotted here, and Impact knows he's in a 1v2. Actually, SKT doesn't counter the lane swap. They decide to just accept it, which to them, Piglet wasn't doing well in the lane against Tabzz anyway. This will, however, sacrifice potential Dragon control. Knowing that a teleport is up for Zorozero, it is a potential 5v3 at the Dragon for Lemondogs, and Faker is actually just trying to get a catch right now.
He's going to go in for Nukeduck, sidesteps the charm, doesn't get landed on, manages to avoid all of the damage. Nukeduck knew that Bengi was close by, and it does mean that Lemondogs actually, they're going to try and counter this and go for Dragon.
If you don't counter the lane swap against a team with a teleport top laner who gets to send their teleport top laner top lane, yeah, it's a Dragon, because Lemondogs has more people. The gank from SKT didn't work mid, and it just means Bengi tries to counter jungle a little bit more.
Well, Zorozero's got to be careful here. He's going to be in a 3v1 situation if he's not careful. Bengi going to come around the side there. Zorozero will be backing towards that turret. It's very hard to dive a Malphite in that bottom lane, and now Impact under pressure from Tabzz.
SKT's really respecting Lemondogs' moves right now. Just not throwing Bengi Qs and just trying to tower dive Malphite, not just going all out on Nukeduck. They recognize that Lemondogs knows how to hit back because this is almost a 2,000 gold lead already.
Well, Nukeduck just walking in a straight line to avoid that charm wreck. Kind of realized I think he'd got the advantage, and Impact now starting to try and be focused on here. Tabzz trying to keep him at bay, but Zorozero He's under a little bit
This
of trouble.
could be a gank right now.
Look at Dexter come in and stop all force. Gets the assault battery on towards ManDu. ManDu, though, hadn't locked up. Stranglethorns goes down. He may be able to walk away from this one. Zorozero pulling the pressure down. Piglet tries to turn it back around. Piglet, can he kite it? No. They're going to go towards Piglet now. They have to back away from this one. Piglet has the damage to turn it back around. He's going aggressive. We're seeing Bengi and Faker joining the party. They're going to come to this top lane, and Nukeduck is not following.
They have to get out of here because Bengi and Faker could pick up double kills right now. Nukeduck's trying to come up, but they just don't have the time.
Bengi sits, lays away. They're going towards Piglet. He seems to be the focus target. Zorozero is going to get locked up. Can they go towards Piglet? No, they can't. Piglet comes in. They pick themselves up a double.
They get it back right there, and it moves the game a little bit closer. That's kill for Faker and a kill for Piglet. Two of the key members right there for SK Telecom pulling back in the game. And Nukeduck, if he's going to roam up that far to try and stop the dive, he didn't do anything from that. He could have been pushing up mid lane or arrive. He got caught in between two places, and it gives SKT the edge.
Yeah, far too slow to react there, I felt. Meanwhile, Impact, all the pressure that's been on him, he's continuing to keep that farm rolling. He's closing in on 100. Creep score now compared to Zorozero. Zorozero himself teleports in towards that mid lane. So it looks like we're going to have a switch around because obviously Nukeduck was up the top there. Of course, without those blue buffs, he is starving for mana right now.
Absolutely. Nukeduck, he has to find a way to get farm in this game because even though they have a 1,000 gold advantage, the Swain pick will not have an impact in games unless he can just be in the fray, essentially just tanking the damage from SKT because Lemondogs' damage is so up front with the Malphite and the Vi. They need to take out Piglet, which means that Nukeduck needs to have enough power and farm to withstand the rest of SK Telecom's damage. Otherwise, Faker's Ahri is just going to roll over.
He's almost got that Deathfire grasp complete. You can see he's just gone back, needs the large rod in there. Mithy now going to go focus, flashes out of the cocoon from Impact there. Bengi trying to be baited in, will back away. We do see Dexter actually making his way down here. No ward coverage for Impact, so he's going to get in pretty much blind to SK Telecom.
Yeah, Dexter does get pinged going around that ward, but he's just looking to get one of his own. Right now, the Lemondogs bottom lane is in a very weak spot, which is explaining that what seemed like a bit of a preemptive flash for Mithy, because Tabzz is trying to get the last bit of gold before going back for his Trinity Force. They're not looking for any types of fights right now.
So, blue buff picked up by both mid laners finally. Faker's had his for a while. Nukeduck just returning to lane, sidesteps the charm. And the orbs, making sure it doesn't get caught out by anything from Faker. Faker already heading north, though. That's going to have to surely be countered. Every time he heads away from that lane, Nukeduck's got to be looking to react.
Yeah, Nukeduck has lost presence in this lane, and Dexter's walking on top of wards right now. It's a very dangerous time in the game, because since both mids just picked up their blue buff, both junglers want it back.
That is the bottom lane turret, first one of the game, going down. Dexter comes around the side there, locking on towards their Faker. Knocking him down instead, the charm comes in there, and now Bengi gets on towards him. He can kick him towards the tower. Dexter in all sorts of trouble. He's going to go down. Faker picks up the kill.
That was a very close fight. All credit to Bengi there for getting the kick into turret range. While all that was happening, though, Lemondogs and SKT got top turrets of each other, and this game has just gotten real close.
5-5 in kills, just 200 gold separating the two teams. Piglet keeping pressure on the top lane on Zorozero, unable to really react to it. Look at the bottom lane, though. They're moving in towards it. Tabzz and Mithy coming across here. Faker just keeping them away alongside ManDu. Lemondogs trying to put pressure on towards his mid.
Tabzz has no mana and no items right now. He's sitting on a Phage and a Mana Crystal. He needs to go back and buy items. That entire roam to the top lane was just wasted time, and they can't waste time against SKT.
Well, you can see that the Blade of the Rune King was already completed by Piglet. That's why he's feeling so confident up against Zorozero, who's still yet to complete that Sunfire Cape. Almost got it ready, but look at Piglet. Comes around, unstoppable force. Sorry, he manages to pin him onto the wall. It's not going to be enough damage, though. He's going to have to dive this one very deep. And Zorozero just avoiding it with that ulti.
Yeah, but knowing that the unstoppable force is down is actually a defensive maneuver by Piglet right here. Dexter's looking to make a play. If he lands the Q, he might have enough damage, but man, that would be scary.
That would be ballsy play. Piglet was out of mana, but basic attacks, Blade the Rune King down, still he's going to be pulling out a lot of that damage in there, and wisely chooses not to go for that one. The call coming out. Faker just dodging out the side for that death sentence from Mithy. Lemondogs, well, it seems that they want to pressure this mid lane.
Over the past 5 or 10 minutes here, SKT's been pulling back. A lot of it has to do with things that we can't necessarily notice. Faker is only 17 farm up on Nukeduck, but Nukeduck has been pushed to his turret this entire time. and Faker's been able to make moves kind of side to side, as well as Bengi getting ward control within Lemondogs' jungle. It's made farming very dangerous for Lemondogs, which means they've had to be a lot more cautious about the moves they make, and it's taken the aggression away from them. That's why SKT has been able to farm up a bit better in the lanes now, and it's basically forcing Lemondogs into making some potentially questionable decisions.
Faker may go aggressive here in this mid lane.
He has his DFG.
Taking that turret to absolutely nothing. The rest of the team starting to come around. Oh, Mithy nearly caught out of position there. You saw 3 members of SKT grouping around it. Dragon is up, and they're looking to make the first one their own.
Yeah, this is not a dragon Lemondogs can safely contest. There's not even a teleport up on Zorozero right now. If anything, I'm a little surprised SKT took it so quickly because they may have been looking to bait a fight in the dragon area since they had such impressive ward control.
So that's a dragon apiece, and that is the middle turret going down. SKT move themselves into the lead as the gold advantage swings their way. Zorozero heading down south here, just going to ward out, keeping that pressure on that top lane. Impact is coming up to counteract him though, so he's not going to get any free time. PoohManDu meanwhile coming down to join Piglet in this bottom lane, and once again we see Tabzz and Mithy up against Piglet and PoohManDu, but it is very different now.
Yeah, Trinity Force versus Blade of the Ruin King. I still think if Mithy landed the death sentence, it might be enough to turn around onto SKT, but that lane has gotten extremely interesting. The early lane phase where Corki had an edge turns into a mid game where both Vayne and Corki have a lot of power. That may just be about where Vi or Zorozero go for ganks.
The moment Vi passed that mid lane, the moment he went down there, you saw the bottom lane of Piglet and PoohManDu just backing the hell away from there. Side stones have been picked up by both supports, so now keeping that gold flow going. We are seeing a couple of pinks being picked up by PoohManDu, and both the bot lane for Lemondogs is also backing up, so we'll see what they come out with. Nukeduck, well, he got that Rod of Ages completed, went for that Negatron's Cloak, which is almost certainly needed up against Faker with that Death Fire Grasp early on. Top laners, we did see that Haunting Guys being picked up very early on by Impact as well as those Source Boots, and now he's gone for a bit of health in there up against Zorozero, who has now completed the Sunfire Gate.
Absolutely. I know that Lemondogs has struggled a bit in the season if they're a little bit inactive. They will generally wait for the game to kind of lose around them if they're losing and know how to farm up. They're not the best at playing from behind, and their playmaking ability has been taken away. We can see already now SKT planning a 4-man dive with all their ward control. They're the ones looking to create action since Lemondogs is so defensively waiting back.
Oh, I think Nukeduck tried to bait that one, but he may well turn back around on him. Is he going to have enough coming out from that lifesteal? No, he's not. Faker pops that DFG and just pulls the trigger.
Ignite as well to just stop the Swain healing, and that was a bait into death.
And Dexter in trouble in his top lane. He can't go up against Impact in a 1v1, and that means that Bengi and PoohManDu just going to be taking away that blue buff. The tower going down on the bottom. It's now 3-1. All the outer towers are down, and SKT1 keep on pushing.
And this is the reward for what SKT has been doing for the past 10 minutes. Every lane has been pushed up. They're slowly scaring Lemondogs off, creeping their wards into Lemondogs territory, and it's allowing them to make plays.
So Impact keeping pressure on, and again, Bengi taking away those wolves. Every time he comes into this jungle, takes away those key gold items, just like Impact is doing right now. 70 gold rolling his way instead of Dexter's. And he's also taking away the Wraith as well. So the entire jungle of Lemondogs has just been piltered by SKT1, and well, 6-5 kills, 31.2k to 27.7, 3-1 in turrets. It is all on Lemondogs to try and react to this.
And I don't know what their answer is for Faker right now, because Faker has 2 levels on Nukeduck, and even though Nukeduck was able to pick up a Negatron Cloak, Faker's finished his Void Staff at this point. He's going to be cutting through Nukeduck's defenses right now. Him and Bengi are such a great tag team, just doubling up and finishing them off. You can see now his minion farm advantage is really starting to accelerate because he's scared Lemondogs out of their lanes and has really had free roam around the map.
Well, Faker's just building up that power with that Void Staff as well. And the Source Boots he had early on. Zorozero, you're caught, you're being completely captured. Having to use the Unstoppable Force to get away from this one, or will he just save it? You can see Nukeduck coming around. No, because there's the Lantern coming out from Mithy to save his bacon.
Thing is, that was Faker's burst without his ultimate right now. Onto who should be the tankiest person on Lemondogs. Knowing that Zorozero is now kind of out of the equation, it allows SKT to take even more territory from Lemondogs. This game could very quickly get out of hand. It's already a little bit, but SKT could actually look to make some big plays extremely shortly.
Ooh, death sentence being thrown out. Faker once again sidestepping it. Not once being caught out by one of those skill shots yet. Every time he manages to avoid it as the wards get cleared out across the Lemondogs jungle. And SKT starting to put the pressure across multiple points. And I've talked to the teams about, you know, the practice, the scrims they've been having since they've been here at Worlds. And that's the one thing they've said against all the Korean teams is that they just know how to keep the pressure on them the most.
And right now it's the pink ward placement by SKT. We just saw Bengi take the pink ward into Lemondogs' blue buff and get rid of Lemondogs' vision within their jungle. Look at the amount of wards that Lemondogs actually has in their own jungle. I count 2. Which isn't enough vision considering you're against an Ahri, Lee Sin, even Vayne. Anyone who, if they catch you when you don't expect to see them coming, you're just going to die. And that's one of the big reasons SKT is keeping the pressure on.
And the big thing I'm seeing from Lemondogs is just no burst damage right now.
Nope.
Other than Tabzz, he's really the only one that could lay down some real damage. Nukeduck's going to keep on ticking the farm, but meanwhile Faker Piglet can just do burst damage and absolutely pop someone out of the game.
And how would Lemondogs even find the burst if they don't know where SKT are? They're roaming through a jungle that is completely blind to Lemondogs right now, and all the playmaking Lemondogs was making earlier has gone away. They do not know what to do against SKT's onslaught right now.
Well, I know what they're doing at the moment. Nukeduck's losing out against Faker. That was actually a closer trade than I would have expected, considering everything was burnt out from Faker there. On towards Nukeduck. Nukeduck didn't even use that Ignite. Zorozero trying to bait out Impact, see if he can go towards him again. Trying to pull in. The rest of his team do come to help. Nukeduck at the moment is keeping Faker at bay in that bottom lane.
And Lemondogs has to fully commit in order to find a fight. Malphite and Vi have to go in extremely deep together. And when they're now behind, nearing 5,000 gold, that becomes an increasingly dangerous proposition. And since they weren't pulling the trigger 4,000 gold ago, I don't really know what they're going to do now to pull the trigger and try to get back in this game.
So, obviously at 25 minutes, the game is going to roll on. Currently, it's Lemondogs in a full defensive stance. They're holding off. They're keeping their inner turrets at bay. How is this going to roll through if this game continues the way it's going? Obviously, SKT going to keep on getting powerful, but have Lemondogs got anything in the late game to turn this around?
It doesn't look like it right now. It looks like SKT is going to keep rolling, and I don't even know if we're going to get to a late game. SKT, during the Summer Season of Champions and also the Korean qualifying tournament, averaged 31 minutes and 50 seconds in their game. Average. That's a really fast game for most teams. We're nearing that point right now, actually. They've pilled up about a 5,000 gold lead, and they don't let things kind of go crazy. Maybe if Nukeduck could get 5 or 6 items Swain, he could become that monster. No way SKT is letting that happen. They're going to look for Faker to catch someone with the charm, maybe Bengi, next Dragon, next Baron. They're just continuing to take these objectives on cooldown and build up their gold lead.
This is possibly the problem. If you think back to the playoffs at Gamescom, Lemondogs, they were long games. That's what they needed. They needed to go that long distance to get themselves going. But as it stands, as you point out, SKT don't want a long game right now, it seems. But this could be an important blue buff. Nukeduck's going to be getting this one away. SK don't really have the timing on this one, it seems, or they do, and they're just trying to create an opportunity for something else, which seems to be the Baron.
Once again, total ward control over Lemondogs' jungle. If Lemondogs wants to commit, they need to do it sooner rather than later, because SKT is just slowly building this one up. But when they're using the Lantern in to help scout, it means they don't have clean initiation helpers. Zorozero taking a bit of damage, but even so, Dexter and Zoro need to be able to get in the front line safely, pick their target, and go. And because of how well SKT is playing the Vision game right now, it is just not a realistic proposition for Lemondogs to do anything aggressive.
Dexter is trying to come in, but look at this. They're baiting in there. Piglet's going to be the focus, and he is going to get melted. Unstoppable Force was used out there. They're trying to get on towards Impact, but Impact has just repelled away from this one. Zorozero's getting absolutely melted at the back there. Dexter comes in on towards them. Faker's going to be the target. They do manage to get Bengi down. Faker taken low, but he's not going to be enough. And Piglet joins the party. He comes around. Nukeduck gets condemned on the wall, gets dropped down there. Tabzz did take down Faker, but he's the last man standing. And that is going to be absolutely destruction. It's a 4 for 2 to SK Telecom.
And Zorozero was extremely low at the start of the fight. That was the fight SKT wanted from the start. They had the vision in the jungle area and just collapsed in. Faker eats supports. We knew this beforehand. We saw a perfect example of it in that Baron fight.
Absolute destruction. Zorozero does use those home guard boots to get out and just try and keep the damage to a minimal. It was only one inner turret, not the end of the world, but we're already seeing some interesting developments. Let's check out this fight.
Absolutely. So it's a DFG as he jumps in so that all of his damage hits afterwards. It just makes supports disappear. And at that point, Impact was out the bottom, distracting most of Lemondogs, which allowed SKT free reign onto Zorozero. You can see the Swain pick coming in a bit with Nukeduck, how well he was able to stick in that fight as Swain, and how difficult it was for SKT to focus them down. But because SKT got the jump on them, because SKT had the gold lead, it just wasn't a fair fight.
And the mobility that SK have, of course, is the fact that 4 of them could get across that wall. No problem there. You saw ManDu finally join in the fight because he was the only one that had to walk the whole way around the map.
Poor guy.
Poor guy indeed. Yeah. So Lemondogs have regrouped. They are 5 members in that mid lane. They're actually clearing out the Baron wards that SKT did put down there. They're grouping up. They may try and clear this one out.
They need to. I mean, they lost that last fight because they got initiated on unexpectedly, but there's no way they can get an expected initiation unless Lemondogs puts their back to the Baron pit and dares SKT to just come at them. The gold lead is probably too large at this point for them to even do this successfully, and they're backing away.
They're backing away because SKT were just saying, fine, we can keep that mission, keep that pushing down that mid lane. And we do see ManDu working his way back in there to put all of those ward coverage that Lemondogs had put in there to clear it back out. The dance of wards continues as the game progresses in towards the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, so let's look now. Faker finished his Rabadon's death cap 28 minutes in. He has a measly 525 ability power right now. He's going to eat anyone he wants next as far as Ahri goes. Deathfire Grasp to that full Ahri combo, Spirit rushing in right after the DFG flies to get the full burst down. Nukeduck Swain pick hasn't necessarily panned out because, not because it's not a good thing in teamfights, but mainly because his lane presence was too low and it allowed Bengi and Faker to just take control of his territory, and slowly SKT just kind of starved Lemondogs out here.
And the difference is you can see Piglet not too worried about defense, going for that last Whisper next after the Phantom Dance has already been completed, while Tabzz, he had to get that Spectral Cowl in there because he's so worried about how much Faker's been putting out. Bengi checking with that kick there, moves across, puts himself the pink ward down, and continues that wall clearance, taking away every little bit of vision that Lemondogs had just gained in that Baron pit.
And it's pink wards on top of pink wards on top of pink wards. Faker, even though he does buy pink wards, is full on items now for the most part, so he's not buying as many. It's all on Bengi and PoohManDu to get that ward control, plus the Oracles. Lemondogs, the same thing could happen again to them right here. They should just go before they get initiated on.
Ooh, the hook on Bengi, but look at this. SKT didn't quite jump for this one around. They could well have gone on towards Mithy, like you said. They were all set up, ready and waiting to go. This time Nukeduck is down the bottom in the mid lane alongside Impact. There's a lot of wards in that push right now.
And it's patience by SKT. They know they have this play that works. Since Lemondogs has seen it work multiple times, they're like, all right, we're going to think about going for the Baron. They can tank it with Spiderlings and plants, not get too low themselves, and Lemondogs has to pull the trigger to go in, but the vision has been denied.
They've got to go in.
Do that.
It's down to 2,000 hit points, but look at Dexter just getting melted. That is it. Jungler out. No steals coming here. SKT going to turn this one around. Tabzz is going to be the focus target for good unstoppable force on towards Bengi. ManDu getting taken down, but Nukeduck just gets melted out there. Tabzz puts some good damage down, but Faker gets himself the double. Zorozero, he gets caught out. He goes down, and that's going to be Tabzz caught out. He just gets melted and destroyed. The moment someone gets focus targeted, their hit points are gone. And that is the ace for SK Telecom T1.
So much damage comes out, so organized by SKT. Look at Dexter. He is gone. That was Faker. It just kills him immediately. And then Lemondogs is like, I guess we have to fight a 4v5 because they're already partway committed. Zorozero landed an amazing ultimate. Nukeduck was in good position, but as soon as Nukeduck went in to try to tank, everyone focused at once. They did not allow Swain's healing to take into effect, and then they land their skill shots, they flash in, they finish off Lemondogs. Great ace, and they get the inhibitor as well.
Inhibitor goes down. Lemondogs up against it now. 15-9 and a 12,000 gold lead up against a Baroned up SK T1. So, all the power is with the Koreans right now. The European team, the number 2 seed coming into this one up against the number 3 seed, but we all know SK Telecom. They are the current summer champions, and they are very strong. Would you believe it? Lemondogs are thinking of fighting for this one.
They need to find out a lot more things to do right now because things went from bad to worse to out of control for Lemondogs in the past 10 minutes, or even ever since they started the game so well. They got the first blood, and SKT just kind of took it slow, respected Lemondogs' playmaking ability, and then just turned it on, it seemed like. They flipped a switch and just played their game. Bengi got enough counter jungling down. Bengi got enough wards inside Lemondogs' jungle, and the clock just kind of turned there. So now we're at a point where Faker gets to kill whoever he wants. But after that, Piglet is still a huge threat. He's got all the move speed, nearing a full item build. Even the Furor boots, because Vayne is so reliant on move speed, it's too much for Lemondogs to deal with right now, knowing that they have to go all in with Zorozero and Dexter Malphite Vi together, knowing that Tabzz is front-loaded with damage and has built that defensive item in the Banshee's Veil. There's not enough power coming from Lemondogs to fight back against SKT.
Just can't burst anyone down, and as you said, Faker can effectively kill who he wants now. We saw Dexter, the second most tankiest member of the team, just dropping without even being able to react out of that charm. Lemondogs do defend out this bottom inner turret. Whether they're going to be able to hold on is another matter. Faker wasn't with them, but he is coming around the side right now. Puts down the pink ward, but PoohManDu up the side there. We could see Faker coming around the backside of Lemondogs. PoohManDu getting ready and waiting, could throw that Stranglethorns in the backside of them. Lemondogs realizing the dangerous situation they're in. He's going to go for it. The Mithy just about gets melted by Faker. Finally, just sidestep the last hit.
Oh god, this is dangerous right now for Lemondogs. Even without the Faker ultimate impact, if they land a stun, but it's actually Lemondogs who goes in.
Zorozero decides to go aggressive, assault battery on towards Piglet, but they've just got no follow-up. There's no damage coming out from Lemondogs, and I can see SKT1 just turn it around. Faker picks up one, picks up two, comes on through, Impact locks in towards it. Tabzz trying to do a valiant effort, but he gets caught with the grasping roots. Piglet rolls on through, Mithy gets dropped, he's going to get taken down. Impact will get on towards him. PoohManDu follows on through, Bengi locks in there. That's going to be Nukeduck. He got Impact down, but Mithy's the only man standing, and it was a triple kill for Faker.
And the fight just kept going, and it was gone. Now SKT have the minions in the mid lane, getting the Nexus turrets down. This looks like a 35-minute win.
That to me seemed like a bit of a crazy initiate. I think in that they realized that the goose was cooked, the game was over, and SK Telecom T1 will be taking their first game against the Lemondogs in this group stage.
He got him!
Faker got him, but he goes down to the tower as well. Didn't even get caught out. Just pads out those stats there. Feeling happy with that one. Job done for the man in the middle.
It's all about the kills right there. 6-1 and 6 for Piglet as well. We can't take away from the rest of SK Telecom, but after a rough start against Lemondogs, they just turned it on. 60,000 gold by the end of that game, a 16,000 advantage over Lemondogs. And the Swain pick was a gambit. That gambit didn't work.
That gamble was attempted to work. And you know, it started out so well for the Lemondogs, and we talked about the confidence of traveling abroad early on. SKT1 must be on top of the world now, because frankly they were under pressure at the start. That very early play on the red buff, you gotta remember, there's first blood and the second kill as well for Dexter in that top lane seemed to work well. They started to build up a great advantage over SKT1, but the fact that they've now turned that one around and in such great style just will boost their confidence. They'll be thinking, that's it, we're on top of the world now.
In big games, SK Telecom is notoriously slow starters. They're best of 5 against MVP Ozone. They lost their first game, won the next 3. The finals of the summer season, they lost the first 2, won the next 3. In the regional finals, they lost the first one, won the next 3, right? They didn't lose their first game this time. What happens now?
What happens now, everybody else in the world is watching. That is the what happens now, of course. OMG and TSM, they're going to be playing next. They're going to be sat waiting in the wings watching that one. Where do you see the weaknesses in SKT1?
Well, right there, it did seem like they were slightly vulnerable in the early game right there. Their early lane matchups weren't necessarily that powerful. Letting the Corki through and then not necessarily respecting its power because they gave up a couple kills in the top lane there. But then, obviously, their strengths just came well through and were able to finish them off. There's obviously, when they're the favorite to go in, you don't spot many weaknesses in a team.
Maybe just don't let Faker have Ahri.
That was a mistake.
So we've got to take a quick break, but when we return, Reginald and Team Solar Mid challenge China's OMG and their MVP mid laner, Cool, plus the Lemondogs. Well, their coach N-Rated is going to be joining us, and he's going to be talking about how his team's first time on the world stage has done. Not so well, it seems. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen, because Season 3 World Championships live from Los Angeles. We'll be right back.